Certification Officer with the Department of Procurement Services. And one of my responsibilities is to review certification applications for eligibility and make a recommendation. Today's How to Become Certified workshop, our goals at a glance will look at the benefits of the certification, who qualifies, what the requirements are, the application process, what required information and documents you'll need to provide, and what to expect after the applications are submitted. So the Department of Procurement Services is the contracting authority for the procurement of goods and services for the city of Chicago. We work together as a team and with our customers to guarantee an open, fair, and timely process by establishing, communicating, and enforcing superior business practices. The city of Chicago has 6 certification programs. The first 4 are part of our local certification program, which is the MBE, Minority Owned Business Enterprise, WBE, Women Owned, VBE, Veteran Owned, and BEPD, which is our business enterprise owned and operated by people with disabilities. The last 2 are our federal programs, which is the DBE, the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, and the ACDBE, which is our Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. With that, we'll talk about what the benefits of certification are. So once your firm is certified, your firm is listed in a directory, which is accessible to the general public and all prime contractors. So there's visibility among the other firms, primes, and the private industry. There are also minority and women and disadvantaged participation goals on City of Chicago projects and sister agency projects. There are also businesses in the private sector that seek out certified firms for products and or services. The City of Chicago has a target market program which provides exclusive bidding to certified MBE and WBE businesses. This allows certified businesses to take 100% of the contract because there are no subcontractor goals associated with the project. The qualifying groups eligible for the programs include African Americans, Hispanic, Asian Indian, women, veterans, and people with disabilities. Other individuals who can prove social and economic disadvantage who do not fall under one of these listed qualifying groups may provide an affidavit, which will go to our affirmative action review board for the local program. For our federal program, it will go through a review currently with our legal department to determine eligibility. So we get a lot of Middle Eastern or Native American for the non-construction program who have to go through the this review. And for the local program, you do not need to be a U.S. citizen, but for the federal program, you do. You need to be a U.S. citizen or a nationalized person. The VBE program, by this definition, is a veteran who has served in the United States Armed Forces and was discharged or separated under honorable conditions. So in order to determine your status when leaving the military, we require the DD-214 or the DD-215 as supporting evidence. If the vendor does not have their DD-214 or 215, the applicant should contact the Veterans Administration. What are the certification requirements? The business must, for the local program, which is the MBE, WBE, VBE, and BEPD program, it must have a local business, which is where the principal place of business is. And it must be in one of the 6 counties: Cook County, DuPage, Kane, Lake, McHenry, or Will. For the DBE ACDBE program, the headquarters can be located anywhere in Illinois. The majority owner must be 51% owned, controlled, and managed by a minority, woman, veteran, and or person with a disability. For the federal programs, the owner must be socially or economically disadvantaged, the majority owner. There's also a business size standard. So for the local programs, we look at the gross receipts over 3 years for non-construction firms, and it should not exceed that $43 million. So if your firm is averaging over 3 years, over 43 million, you would not be considered a small business. For construction firms, the formula is a little different. These firms, the commodity codes, the codes that they're eligible for, are subject to the SBA size standards. And that is multiplied by 1.5, and it's averaged over 7 years compared to the 3. For the DBE program, the firm's 5-year average annual gross receipts must not exceed the SBA size limit for the firm's primary line of business, or the 3-year average maximum of 28.48 million for the FHA and FTA assisted contracts. For the FAA assisted contracts, firm must not exceed the SBA size limit for the firm's primary line of business. For the ACDBE, we look at 3 years gross receipts, and it should not exceed 56.42 million, which is averaged over 3 years. And there's some exceptions, but that's the main criteria. We also look at the majority owner's personal net worth. And for the local program, this only applies to construction companies. So the personal net worth is currently 2.49 million. So this amount is evaluated annually by the city. For the federal programs, the threshold applies to all people seeking certification, and so it doesn't matter if you're construction or non, and it's currently 1.32 million. So this is adjusted periodically by the U.S. Department of Transportation. And there is the formulas for the calculation for the PNW, personal net worth, is a little different between the federal and the local. The local program, the calculation excludes business ownership, equity in any real estate, including your personal residence, and the fixtures and furnishings, and values in pensions, 401k, or other retirement savings or investment programs, which this is different for the federal program. It's different in that the calculation includes all of those except for equity in your primary residence and your equity in the applicant firm. The next few slides will talk about different businesses that qualify. Sole proprietorships qualify, and it's typically the firm is owned by one person. It has no legal existence apart from that person. And we ask to see the assumed name certificate if the firm is operating in a name other than the owner's name. For the general partnership, 2 or more people go into business together without any formalities, and we ask for the executed partnership agreement. Corporations are treated as an entity that is separate from its shareholders, and it allows others to invest in the business without being liable for the debts of that business. The firm must be in good standing with the Secretary of State, must have articles of incorporation, a certificate of incorporation, bylaws of corporation, copies of all stock certificates front and back, and I also request the stock ledgers, and must have meeting minutes. Limited partnerships are more like stakeholders in a corporation. They are not liable for the debts beyond their own ownership. We ask for the assumed name certification or certificate of limited partnership. LLC, which is a limited liability company, these are partnerships that have a managing member or partner. There must be an operating agreement and must provide articles of organization. The next few slides will talk about suppliers, distributors, and brokers. For the local program, suppliers, a supplier must be a regular dealer, which is a firm that owns, operates, or maintains a store, warehouse, or other establishment in which materials, supplies, articles, or equipment are bought, kept in stock, and regularly sold or leased to the public in the usual course of business. So keep in mind, suppliers might have a store, should have a warehouse with inventory, and are selling to the general public. Distributors are a little different. Firms operating as a distributor are identified as having a direct relationship with the manufacturer to distribute its goods and products within a specified territory or region. The goods and or products are not available or sold to the general public. So for the local program, suppliers, distributors would qualify, brokers would not. And broker, by this definition, is a firm acting as a broker, is not eligible for certification as for the local program, but can be eligible for the federal program. So a person or entity that fills order by purchasing or receiving supplies from a third-party supplier rather than out of its own existing inventory, or even not purchasing it from a manufacturer directly, provides no substantial service other than acting as a conduit between his or her supplier and his or her customer. And that is considered brokering, which under the local program, again, we do not certify brokers. The application process is online, and the website is chicago.mwdbe.com. There is an application fee for the MBE, WBE, and VBE certifications. And that's a one-time application fee. It's non-refundable. There is no fee for the federal programs or the people with disabilities. After you submit your application and it's received by our intake department, you'll receive an invoice via email. And then you'll pay that invoice, the instructions on the invoice. And then once you pay it, it'll be assigned to certification officer to review. So the next few slides will talk about what information is needed. The most important thing is to keep your contact information current. If your email or phone number or address has changed, you should update that in the system. If you're applying for several programs, I highly recommend for the local program that you apply for. If you're applying for multiple, for instance, if you're a minority woman and you want to apply for the MBE and WBE at the same time, you should select it. And then if you're also interested in applying for the federal program, you should also apply for that at or around the same time, because the similar information is requested, but you have to apply separately in the system. But when we review it, we can make that determination together. So you won't fall at the bottom of the line if you decide later to apply for DBE, for example. And then the BEPD requires a Schedule G form, and that is a form and it's an affidavit and other documents that are submitted to the Mayor's Office of People with Disability, and they'll determine if you're eligible, if you're an eligible person with a disability, and they'll let us know that you qualify. For the VBE program, again, we talked about the DD 214 or 215 document that shows that you were honorably discharged. Again, we asked for ownership information. So if there's multiple owners, that needs to be provided for each of the owners. Employee information, we may look at the W-2s or 1099s of your employees or contractors. Facility information, we would request lease agreements. Financial information, we request tax returns and other financial statements, licenses. So this is important to keep in mind. If your business requires a license, you must have that license when you apply. You can't be in the process of applying for whatever licenses you need. So for all trades, if you're a general contractor, if you need a business license, if you're a professional, provide the license. If you're, and that's pretty much what the licenses include. We also ask for eligibility documents, so that if you're applying for a certain specialty code, you should provide a resume. It would describe what your technical expertise has been in those codes. We ask if you have contracts already executed to provide those contracts, or invoices if you've billed a customer for those services, and it should detail what those services are, and then the corresponding proof of payment of that invoice. We also ask for driver's license, birth certificates or passports. We look at your initial proof of equity contribution. So you should be able to substantiate where the startup funds came from. Like, what was the source of the funds? Was it your personal account that you transferred some money into the business account? We'd ask to look at that. We also look at the business bank account signatory card to see who's the signatory on those accounts. An organization chart if there's multiple people. Even if there's one person, you can simply make a chart with your name and your title. We look at equipment, so we might request an equipment listing. We might ask for pictures. We might go out and look at your equipment. And then for loan information, if your business has a loan, we look to see who obtained the loan and authorized the loan. We also, again, we look at financial documents. So for non-construction firms, we look at 3 years of the federal business taxes and the federal individual tax returns for non-construction firms for the local program. We look at 7 years for construction firms, and then 5 years for DBE, ACDBE. We also look at W-2s and 1099s, and then we look at the personal net worth statement. And again, that's for construction firms for the local program only, but for all new applicants for the DBE, ACDBE federal program. So once the applications are submitted, currently it's taking about 90 days from the day we receive all of the documents to review. Your application is checked to make sure we have all the documentation. We're looking through the documentation, so we're auditing it, And depending on your industry, you may receive a site visit. So construction firms, suppliers, distributors, trucking firms, manufacturers, and then again, all new DBE, ACDB applicants will receive a site visit. So maintaining certification, all vendors must submit an annual no change affidavit. You must notify the certification division if there's been any material changes in your organization, structure, business name, ownership changes, new address within 10 business days of the change. And you can report those material changes online in the portal via the expansion application. But also send a follow-up email to dps.certification@cityofchicago.org. And keep in mind this email, you should jot it down. We also have a customer service phone number from 8:30 to 4:30. There's usually somebody answering customer service questions. And that number is 312-744-4900, option 1. But the best way is to email and we'll respond. So if you're looking to expand your services, so your firm has grown and you're providing different services and have evidence, you'll need to provide what the 6-digit NAICS code is and what the description is, and then also the supporting documentation. So if you require licensing, provide that. Again, proof of contracts, if you need insurance, if you needed added insurance, and then provide a current resume. That'll help us if you provide that on the onset of the application. It'll provide for a more timely review. So there are instances where applications are denied, and these are the top 10 reasons. So it's questionable the ownership and control of the firm. It's unclear who is in charge of the critical functions, who's responsible for those critical functions. A company cannot substantiate where the startup funds came from. Outside and secondary employment takes most of the day of the majority owner. So we understand there are times where startups may have the majority owner may have a full-time job, and that's okay. We just need to understand how you're running the business that's applying for certification. If the company is not located in one of the 6 county regions, so keep in mind that the control, the management and control of the firm that person should be located in one of the 6 county regions. If the point of contact did not respond timely to requests for information, your application may be closed. You have about 30 days in total to provide the information. We'll send a request twice, giving you 15 days each. And I suggest that you provide all of the information that's requested rather than piecemeal, because you may also fail to provide the information timely, and then we'll have to close your application. If there's inconsistencies among the documents with the applicant firm's name, if documents aren't executed by the qualifying owners, required documents are not attached, and there's no explanation why they're not available. And just the last one, tax returns, we understand are the majority are submitted electronically, but we need a manual signature on this tax return. So sign it with a pen, even if it's been electronically submitted, just to avoid issues later. Are there any questions?
Thank you so much, Regents, for that great information. And there are a few questions. Just want to make sure everybody knows that we're fielding questions, so feel free to put it in the Q&A panel if you have any questions um, to us. What if you are a small startup that doesn't have all the items on the required documentation list? Is it acceptable to a case reviewer if we indicate a document is not available or not applicable to our type of business?
Yes, absolutely. So there, when you fill out the applications, there's going to be two sections, mandatory documents, which you won't be able to submit the application without providing a document. So one of the requirements is, for example, 3 or 7 years of taxes. If you're a new firm, you're not going to have those business taxes yet. So just provide a written narrative stating that and then upload it in as a document. And for any other section in the mandatory, you'll want to provide an explanation. That'll help the reviewer later and just kind of move your application along faster if you're explaining, giving us more in the initial application.
Righty. Any other questions that might be out there?
If you have any questions, like I said, call us. We have a customer support line. It's 312-744-4900. Or you can email us and one of us will respond at dps.certification@cityofchicago.gov.
Right.
And then
Um,
also one more thing, I'm sorry,
sure.
when you're in the application, the portal, there's several places where you can also send us an email, contact us, um, and we'll respond to that way. So there's a lot of different ways to ask us questions. If you're really struggling with completing the application, um, there are assist agencies that can help, and you can find them on our City of Chicago website, the assist agencies. But if you're just going through, it's pretty straightforward. There's a lot of information you'll have to put together. But once you have it all together, it's very straightforward to upload it. And then call us too if you have a couple of questions. We can't help you with the entire application, but we can definitely help navigate questions.
Thanks. I have to answer a question that was sent in with the recent direction from the GSA in July. What is the process for LGBT plus organizations to become certified minority suppliers for the city of Chicago? And I don't think the process, correct me if I'm wrong, Regis, is any different. We did do a survey, and the LGBT Chamber of Commerce was filling that survey and trying to get folks to sign up and give us information. I'm not sure that any other process has been done with that due to the fact that we didn't have a wealth of folks sign up and as far as to give us their opinion. And I know that they are revisiting that, but I don't think anything has been done differently from the original how to become certified, getting your certification, just like any M or W organization. I mean, or business. If you want to add something to that, Regents, you can.
We currently do not have a certification program for that group, the LGBTQ, TQ. We don't, but it's not to say that we won't ever. That's exactly, I think,
Right.
what you're saying
Yeah.
currently.
I just think
Mhm.
that they have not, uh, um, been a
Yeah,
little bit more
we haven't
forceful with.
implemented a program yet for that group yet. Um, but hopefully soon.
Yeah. The next question is, how do you decide which programs to apply the city of Chicago versus Cook County versus the state level?
Oh, well, so the city of Chicago and Cook County, we have reciprocity. So if your firm gets certified with the city, that that certification is good also on the county side. So if you want to work on a county project, you would get the credit or the for that goal. The state, we have different program requirements. And but what I do know, so you have to apply separately with the city and the state, but I know if you already get certified through the city or the county, there is a very quick process with the state of Illinois to get approved. You wouldn't have to provide all the information again. But if you're certified with the state, you do have to provide that information to the city currently.
And the last question is, if your application gets denied, how long do you have to rewait to reapply?
So if you do get denied, you would have the opportunity to appeal. Um, but if you appeal and it does get denied, the final recommendation is a denial. You have to wait 1 year from the date of the letter, the date that you received the letter.
All righty. If there are any other questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A panel before we get out of here. Regis, do you have any more tips or anything else you would like to say to our participants today?
No, I
Just
mean, like I said, we're here to help. We encourage small businesses that are minority women-owned businesses to get certified and to do business with the city. There's a lot of funds out there. So we're really encouraging that community to do this.
all righty. And I am currently putting into the chat for all of you. I am putting in some information regarding where you can find copies of the PowerPoint, the presentation, and if you want to find information about the recordings. I'll also say in February, the first week in February, we generally have a construction summit. So if you're interested in networking, not only doing business, but networking with government entities, we will be having a construction summit the first week in February, along with a matching program where you will have to do some things to get up to that point, but you will be able to come match with primes, and then talk with subprime contractors that maybe you can do joint ventures or something with a sub and go to a prime together, or you can go to a prime yourself. If you are interested in doing that, I say make sure you're signed up for DPS alerts and you will get all of that great information because we will begin to send it out shortly right after the holiday. So, with that said, I guess there are no additional questions. Thank you so much, Regents, for your presentation and your great insight on the certification and what they can do to try to garner some of these government contracts that we have. at the City of Chicago. And we want to thank all of our participants for coming today. And we hope to see you back here again. We have a few more workshops before the end of the year. So feel free to come back and visit with us. Also, feel free to come back and come to our our construction summit in February. It will be at the Malcolm X College. So feel free to come. I again will get the data out to you as soon as possible. We're trying to lock that down and make sure that everything is a go before we distribute that. But it will be there where you will be able to network with lots of different government entities and talk with the folks, get some great information from our workshops, and also be able to be matched with some of the prime contractors that we have that are doing business currently with the city of Chicago. So feel free to come back then. We will see you for today. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Be safe, be healthy, and we will see you back here shortly. Have a great day.
Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, Regents.